the 20, from the 18-yard line, and just short of a first down. Tony, while we got a chance, why don't you give the exact standings in the B Division South?
B South, Central's in first place. They're 5-0. Second place, Lacey's 4-0-1. Manchester's 3-2-1. South is 2-3-1. Pinelands is 2-4-1. Freehold is 2-4, and Central Freehold Township is 0-6. The key is at the top. Those games that they played last week didn't count. So Central's in first. If Central ties today, Central and Lacey ties, Central is the champion.
So Lacey needs an outright victory to take the B Division South Championship that they've won 5 years in a row.
Exactly right.
4th and 1. Casey Mahoney. He's got a first down. McCurry tackles him from behind. By the way, the last time Lacey didn't win this outright, they shared it with Central. I believe it was 1988. And they played up at Central. Keith Elias scored 2 touchdowns in the first half, and then the trainer did not allow him to play the second half. He had bruised ribs, and Central rallied behind Chip Chevalier, to win the game in the final minute of play.
That's exactly right. Chip Chevalier, right this year, who has just graduated from Swarthmore, where he's an all-star in the Middle Atlantic Conference, is helping Jason Pozo at the quarterback position.
Well, that created a tie in the B Division. Central shared the title with Lacey in '88. And that was the only losing game I think Keith Elias played in his career.
Right. And, of course, he had at Princeton this year, and he'll be up in the second half. In 3 years, each year, they were 8-2 at Princeton. So he was very successful up there, and the team was very successful with him as their running back.
What had happened was Keith had gotten hurt in a playoff game this Saturday before, and it was actually, I believe, spitting up some blood with his ribs injured. And they were watching him very closely, and he did play the first half of the Central game, but then the precautionary move, playing it safe, trainer said you can't go in the second half, and Central Regional had a good team that year, and that was a good game. There you see Lou Brasilla, the head coach of Lacey. What a career he's had. And Rich Stratton, I believe, with a headset next to him. There's the coaches up top. See Ron Emmert up there?
See Ron Emmert with his old beady, ratty hat.
Our former Channel 8 color analyst, now back in coaching with the Lacey Lions.
Next to Ron was Chip Peterson, who works with the line here at Lacey.
We want to thank John Gardy once again, the Director of Athletics here at Lacey, for letting us tape today's game. All right, here we getting ready to go here. It's a first down for Lacey. They're at the 18-yard line of Central. Lacey leads 7-0. Renato looking to throw. Incomplete. Looking for Jason Dunn in the end zone, but threw short.
And again, he had pressure coming in his face by number 44, Mike Steers, who forced him to throw a little prematurely. He couldn't follow through, but Dunn was open in the end zone.
2nd and 10 for the Lions. Lou Brasilla signaling the play to his sophomore quarterback. Renato, 6'1", 175-pounder.
He's a real find here, and been doing a real good job for Lacey as a sophomore. Has led them to an 8-0-1 record. But again, last week he wasn't very successful throwing. It looks like this week that Lacey is determined that they're going to let him throw the football, and he's doing a real fine job here in the first half.
Split backfield, Mahoney on the left. Renato getting good blocking. Gets it all picked off at the 7. Jason Pozo down near sideline and knocked out of bounds at the 47-yard line of Lacey.
Tackle was made by number 54, Jerry Carraz. Jason Pozo from his defensive back position read that all the way. The drag was Stoop coming across the field. And you can watch the replay right here. Watch him. He steps up and throws the ball well. It's just that number 12 read the play the whole way. He had the ball there. Threw it well. It's just that Jason Pozo made an outstanding defensive play and has put Central in good field position at midfield.
One quarterback intercepts the other quarterback. Now Pozo goes on offense. Split backfield, Parks and McCall to the 48-yard line, gain of about 2. Tackle made by Steve Stoop. And Casey Mahoney getting up a little slow.
He may be getting up slow, but he'll be back in there. He's a tough kid.
2nd and 8. We have an official timeout. I have no idea why he called timeout, but he did. Here we go. Full house back here. We haven't seen that yet today, Tony. Pozo is going to take a loss. Steve Stoop, but T.J. Hutler was the first one in there.
Exactly. T.J. Hutler, and again, the defense by Ed Heffernan, they don't want Jason Pozo to get out on the corner where he can pass or run. They brought T.J. Hutler hard from the outside, and then they brought Stoop on a middle stunt to put pressure up inside. When he turned up inside, there was Steve Stoop to make the tackle for the loss.
Loss of 5 on the play. 3rd and 13 for the Golden Eagles back at their own 47-yard line.
Really got to like the defensive schemes being used by Lacey Township.
Pat Tunney, the center for the Golden Eagles. He's a senior, a veteran. Pozo wants to pass. Pozo's going to scamper. Throws to the far side, throws it away. Hutler once again comes up on Pozo, and they may call intentional grounding. There was no receiver in the area, Tony.
I'll tell you what, Jason Pozo showed some great poise there. I don't know about that. You've got a kid doing the right thing there. I think that he did the right thing. And again, he's getting punished for doing the right thing. What's he supposed to do? Keep the ball and get hurt? Ridiculous.
Big series by T.J. Hutler, 2 big plays on defense, and they're going to march the penalty. Pozo pleaded his case to the official, but to no avail. And that's going to push Central way back. They do have the wind with them now behind Loudon. Loudon's finally getting a chance to kick into with the wind. Ball way back at the 29-yard line.
That was a tremendous loss there.
Punt is coming to the near side. Pestratello backs away, goes out of bounds around the 39-yard line.
That's a nice kick by Tommy Loudon. And again, when you get that wind, he gets the ball up. It's not affected. It's when you're kicking into the wind, if you kick it high, that it's affected, and the wind will knock it down or knock it back, as we saw in his first punt of the game.
So Lacey takes over. 8:15 left to play in the first half. Lacey 7, Central nothing. This is the Shore Conference Championship ball game.
After the first series, Central has done a good job on defense of slowing Lacey down.
I formation, twin wideouts to the far side for Lacey. Sasala, across the 40. Sasala keeps moving the feet, across the 45 to about the 46-yard line. Nice run by Gary Sasala, picks up about 5 or 6.
That play is called the sprint draw, and what they do is Gary Sasala takes a couple of parallel steps and waits until Mike Granado brings the ball back to him. It looks like Mike might be running a sprint out pass, and what you try to do is get the linebackers to drop off so Gary Sasala can run upfield. That's what they did there. He got about 6 or 7 yards.
Kurt Bender, the tight end, brings the play in, replacing Stoop. 2nd and 4 for Lacey. Fumble, little mix up there. I think the guard pulled out and bumped into Granado, Tony.
And Granado's holding his hand. That's not a good sign, because for Lacey, if he's hurt, they'd have to bring in a freshman quarterback, because their second quarterback, a sophomore, has Osgood-Schlatter disease and is in a cast. So they'd bring in a freshman quarterback if Granado goes down.
Lost about 3 on a play on a fumble. 3rd down 7 for Lacey Township. The ball is on the 43-yard line of Lacey Township.
That was their counter tray play, and the guard hit him as he was coming across.
Jason Dunn comes in motion. Dunn leading the blocking. Mahoney blocking for Sasala across the 50 to the Central 48-yard line. That should be a first down.
Well, that's a good combination. You got a big, strong blocker at number 22, and you got an excellent runner in 24, Gary Sasala, who's a member of the Channel 8 All-Star team and will probably be one of the leaders in the All-Star teams all over the state.
Tommy Carnes made the stop here for Central.
See the replay right here. Look at the block by 22. who really didn't do a great deal that time. But
Lonnie Howe also in there for Central. 6:39 left to play here. Lacey on the attack. We got an injury here? Yes, we do. We can't really see unless we look at the minor Mahoney again.
Casey Mahoney, that's something that would be devastating, I think, for Lacey.
I said again, I meant before he got up a little slowly, he wasn't hurt, but this time
he's down and he's being attended to by the Lacey trainer.
They cannot afford to lose Casey Mahoney today.
Too valuable both ways.
Well, we had this delay, Tony. How about, we mentioned our Lacey and Central Channel 8 All-Stars. Mentioned some of the other players named last week. Our centers, Barrett Cervetto of Pineland and Mike Gorga of North, are seniors. Our linemen on offense, Jerry Carras of Lacey, a junior. Dave Garbarino of Township North, a senior. Bill Brussman, Monsignor Donovan senior. Slade Ellis, Central Regional senior. Mike Healy, Township Reese senior. Casey gets up, gets a hand from the Lacey cheering section. Our quarterback, besides Jason Poza, was Jamie Toddings of Donovan. He was a player of the year. And the running backs, besides Casala and Brian McCall of Central, or Ryan Concord of Donovan and Amir Dew of Farragut. He is a sophomore. We'll run those down as we go on. Here's maybe an offside against Central. The right side of their defense jumped. 5-yard penalty against the Eagles. Takes it to the 43-yard line. There's Casey Mahoney being attended to.
On the sideline, it looks like maybe he's got some kind of problem in his shoulder or his neck, and they're going to attend to him and make sure he's healthy before he goes back in the game.
1st and 5 for Lacey. Pascello and Lamanowitz to the far side as receivers. Casala, no, it's 34. That's Brannigan. And Brannigan gains about a yard. They'll bring up 2nd and 4 for Lacey Township.
Something they have to realize is Casey Mahoney missed their 8th game of the year against Pineland, and Art Brannigan came in and did a nice job. As a matter of fact, he had a 70-yard run for a touchdown called back. So he's played and he's battle-tested, so they're not losing a great deal. I think their big problem might be defensively.
Brannigan again, the ball carried. Brannigan running hard. He's got a 1st down. He takes it across the 40 to the Central 37, 38-yard line. I'll mark it 38. And that's a 1st down.
And once again, Lacey just keeps going on. They put another cog in there and just keep running let their offensive line do the job. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, what a good job Rich Stratton does with the offensive line here, because it doesn't really matter who's running the football. People are gaining yards. All they did was move number 24, Gary Casala, to 40 to fullback and put number 34, Brannigan in tailback.
1st down play for Lacey. Again, they give to Brannigan. Casala blocking. Brannigan cuts it outside. And Brannigan just short of a 1st down by about a yard. Almost broke it for a touchdown. And Central Regional's Brian McCall saved the touchdown. I believe it was McCall, 33, made the tackle.
Right, but one thing you see there is Art Brannigan made his start to the left, saw an opening, and used his quickness to get back to the right. Watch him. He sees a little crack, and boom, he just explodes. And if McCall doesn't make that tackle, that's a touchdown. I mean, he's one tackle away from being in the end zone.
2nd and 1 for the Lions. Again, the I formation, Casala and Brannigan. Brannigan again. Brannigan 1st down. And Brannigan takes it inside the 25-yard line. Lacey Township on the move with Brannigan behind Casala.
You got to have to, there's some things that have to go in here. You have Gary Casala, who's the premier runner, moving to a blocking position, because when you're playing the up back, that's basically a blocker. And you're giving up a lot of the things that you would have been doing and doing it for the sake of the team, and that's what he's doing.
3 minutes, 58 seconds, a play and a half. Lacey sends Lamanowitz to the near side as the flanker. They split it in on their far side. And Brannigan gets another call. Brannigan spins off a tackle. He was hit and he kept going. He ran right over one of the Golden Eagles back by the line of scrimmage. And he's got a nice gain again for Lacey Township, 6-yard pickup.
Right, and he's doing a nice job following Gary Sasala. But as we look down on the sideline, I see that the trainer is doing some tests on,
like
you
the
can
left
see it,
shoulder.
right, on the shoulders of Casey Mahoney, and they're not going to let him go in until they're sure that there's nothing wrong.
2nd and 4 at the 18-yard line. Brannigan has carried the ball, 4 straight plays, Tony? Takes it down to the 15-yard line.
A minimum of 4 straight plays. He's carried the ball at least 4, and he has been very successful. But the credit right now has to go to the offensive line. They're getting off the ball and giving him an opportunity to get into the central defense. And that's the plus here. Their offensive line has risen to the occasion and is blocking so well.
3rd and 2 for Lacey. And they stay in the same formation, the I formation, with Brannigan at tailback. 2 wideouts to the near side. Whistle. Maybe the defense jumped again at the last second. That'll give Lacey a first down.
But again, you look out there at that offensive line of Lacey. Number 53, Rob Schinder. Number 51, Boyer, the center. Number 76, Mike Dolan. 75, Rich Diab, and number 54, Jerry Carraz. They're getting into the defensive central.
Illegal procedure against Lacey, so it's a 5-yard penalty against the line. Brings up a 3rd and 7 for Lacey Township. 2 minutes and 26 seconds left in the half. We were talking to Renato's brother down at the Southern Regional game. He was right in front of us on the visiting side where we do the ball game at Southern, and told us he got a late start in football. Didn't play for a year or 2 before he got to high school. Here's Brannigan. He stopped at the line of scrimmage.
56, Tony McCurry in on the tackle, and again, he played an excellent game last week for Central. He's doing the same thing today.
Lonnie Howe was also there. The linebacker lost a yard. 4th down coming up here, and they need a little over 7.
What do you do here, Ken? What do you do?
Well, they're going to talk it over. Granado calls a timeout for Lacey with 1 minute and 42 seconds left in the first half. So Lou Versillo and Ron Emmert and the rest of the staff will talk this one over. Rick Stratton, and decide what they're going to do. Wanted to mention some more of our All-Stars while we have a chance for Channel 8 this year. Our wide receiver was Ken Malshney of Toms River North, a senior. You mentioned Hutler's on our defense.
Hutler and, of course, Paula Panides. You got Aversa, and, of course, from Toms River South, Mike Moran at defensive line. Rich Lurch from Toms River North, the defensive line, and Lou Pascavage from Pinelands Regional. The linebackers?
Devin Murray of Pinelands is a linebacker. Mike Grimes of Southern. Casey Mahoney's one of our linebackers on the All-Stars this year. And his counterpart, Tony McCurry of Central Regional. And Frank Doherty of Toms River North. So we had 5 linebackers. Our defensive backs, Dan Carney of East, Keith Jacobs of Donovan, Doug Lamanowitz of Lacey Township, and Josh Overholt of Pinelands Regional, and a player who's going to be very good before he threw at Manchester, sophomore Joe Mickens. Special teams, Tony?
We have our punter, Joe Falzone, place kicker, Jason Haig from Monsignor Donovan, and the return back, who's also an outstanding running back, Mike Ozerwitz of Toms River South.
And Falzone from Pinelands Regional, and he'll be back next year. And then we mentioned Jamie Toddings of Donovan, quarterback, defensive back, player of the year, and Dan Duddy, coach of the year. So we'll have our special awards in January on our special show we do every year in the studio. Here we go, 4th down for Lacey. Tony said, what are they going to do? They line up in an I formation. And they're going to pass. Maybe a screen over the middle. And it's incomplete. That's what they were trying to set up, Tony.
Again, the pressure forced Granado to throw the ball high over the intended receiver's hands, number 14. They're running a wide receiver screen, bringing them across the middle, and have the line get out in front of them and try to get the first down that way. Unfortunately, there was a big pressure by Aversa and Dasty. Here you can see it right now. Watch Aversa just come upfield and force them to put it up high over number 14, Dunn's hands.
Central takes over at their own 20. First down, flag in the air. And that's completed for an 8-yard gain. but we do have a penalty. It was Ed Maturo, sophomore, on the reception for Central Regional.
And the penalty was too many men on the field for Lacey. Casey Mahoney was on, and they didn't. Jerry Carraz filled his linebacker position when he got hurt, and there was some confusion. So that's going to be, I think it might be a 15-yard penalty.
Well, Lacey scored first possession of the ball game, but haven't scored since. It's 1:32 left in the half. It's still 7-0, Lacey.
I guess it was a 5-yard penalty because he was trying to get off, and they refused the penalty and took the play.
All right, second down and short 3. Pozo has again Maturo, and Maturo runs out of bounds, stops the clock, and it's a first down for Central at the 41-yard line.
One thing you can be sure of, that he can throw the ball, and if those receivers are going to catch it, he can march them right down the field. He's got plenty of time.
I said 41, it's the 36-yard line for Central. Hirschblom comes to the near side. They set up a slot formation with the twin wideouts. And again, a first down, and Parla Panini. Was that Parla Panini?
Yes, it was.
Yes,
It was
he
Parla
runs out of
Panini.
bounds on the far side, the left end. Another first down for the Golden Eagles. They're moving.
Right, they've got all their wide receivers in. I see they have another sophomore in there. That was John Tice on that reception. On this side, they have number 28, Tanner Barrett, another sophomore who's an outstanding athlete, good baseball and basketball player also.
Pozo, Central jumps offside. The split end on the far side jumps off, and that'll cost Central.
With the strong arm that Jason Pozo has, he can march them right down the field in a minute and 17 seconds if they use their timeouts and sidelines wisely.
You've got John Tice over there?
That's John Tice over there. It's Brian Hirschblom. It's Tanner Barrett. There are 3 sophomore
First
receivers.
and 15. Pozo has to get away from the heat. He completes the pass, and they take a loss on the play. A lot of pressure by Stoop and Huntler once again on Pozo.
One thing that Central is an adjustment they've made is instead of trying to put Pozo on a corner because Lacey is coming so hard on the outside, they're dropping him straight back and just blocking those guys out.
Second and 11 for Central Regional at the 46-yard line. They run it with Parks. He takes a loss of a yard. And Bergstrom was in there. Stoop was in there. And it looked like 78, Rob Frazee in there on the stop. Timeout.
See how hard it is to run on that Lacey defense, and they're having much more success throwing the ball.
1:06 left to play in his first half of football, and it's third down and about 12 for the Golden Eagles.
You can see the Lacey huddle here. You can see their coaches preparing these guys defensively of what to expect in this last minute and 6 seconds. See Rich Stratton telling the defensive linemen what they have to do, how they have to put pressure on number 12, Jason Pozo.
Channel 8 will be back here again next week for the state championship game in South Jersey, Group 3. And it'll be Lacey Township, regardless of what happens in this ball game, hosting the Egg Harbor Township team that they lost to in the playoffs here last year on this field. It'll be a rematch. And Rick McDonough and George Jeck will be here to bring you that game.
Exactly right. We got the opportunity to do that game last year that Egg Harbor won 14-0.
Third and 12 for the Golden Eagles. Pozo. He's hit as he throws, and Pluta almost had an interception there, and Pozo's on the ground back at the 41-yard line. Bergstrom got in there with Huntler.
Huntler and Bergstrom, last week they did an outstanding job at defensive end. Once again this week they're doing an outstanding job of putting pressure on Jason Pozo, number 12.
Fourth down for the Golden Eagles, and Loud comes on the field. Lamatowicz is the deep back for the Lions.
Nice kick.
That's going to roll way down into the end zone, away from Lamatowicz.
Kick that ball 50 yards. Unfortunately, it's going to lose 20 because it's going to come out to the 20 because it rolled into the end zone. It was a nice kick by Tom Loudon.
All right, Lacey takes over. Final minute here. We're under a minute to play. And Lacey's clinging to a 7-0 lead. Was it 7-0 last week at the half?
Yeah, yes, it was.
So we've got the same place, the same game. I mean, the same two
score.
teams, same score.
Why are we doing this?
We could have just ran last week's tape, right?
Right. Got a little bit of Twilight Zone here.
The only thing different is the wind's going in the opposite direction.
I'm just trying to tape backwards.
And it's a little warmer. A lot warmer.
Can't
Jason
tell that
Dunn
on
goes
tape.
in motion. Again, it's Art Brannigan, and Casey Mahoney, I guess, has still not come back. Trying to see where he is on the sideline.
Oh, he was in on defense.
Okay.
Yeah. He came in on defense.
Right.
They're probably just being precautionary with 40 seconds left. Give him a rest and not chance any possible injuries here. I think what they'll try to do is run the clock out.
You just leave it alone. He's done pretty well.
Exactly right.
Clock's running, 25 seconds to go. 2nd and 7. Again, Brannigan across the 25, so that's 27. Short of a first down, but that looks like it's going to be the end of the half anyway. 8 seconds to go, clock running.
One thing that is very impressive is for 150 pounds, Art Brannigan really hits up in there hard.
And that's going to do it. That's the end of the first half, and a very similar first half that we had last week. Only Lacey scored earlier in the ball game this week, but 7-0 is the score. Lacey leading Central. Tony, you want to recap that scoring play for the Lions?
Right. After a punt that left Central on the, or excuse me, Lacey on the Central 45-yard line. The second play of the series, Garrett Sala broke off a 39-yard run for a touchdown. Jason Dunn, here you can see it right here. Just watch him follow his block. Watch number 27, Doug Lemanowitz, pick off number 33, Brian McCall, enable Sala to get into the end zone for the touchdown. And then Jason Dunn kicked the extra point, and there were 8 minutes and 38 seconds left in the first quarter, and that's the only scoring we had. It ended up 7-0 Lacey at the end of the first half.
Now, if you're Central, do you make any changes? You go with what you're doing?
Well, you've got to, I think, have Jason Pozo throw on first and second down, because I don't think, from what we've seen in a game and a half, that Central is capable of running the ball only and winning the game against Lacey because of the tough run defense that Lacey has shown. So I think that they're going to have to come out and open it up as they did at the end of the half with all the young underclassmen receivers, and then they can come back to the running game.
There you see the Lacey Township marching band, the Lion Band, coming on the field entertaining here at halftime. We're going to wrap it up, and we hope to have Keith Elias join us during the second half, the former All-State running back for the Lacey Lions, and of course All-American at Princeton, and All-Ivy Player of the Year this year for the Princeton Tigers. So we'll come back with the second half. Let's take a timeout, and we'll be right back. You're watching Adelphia Cable, Channel 8, the game of the week here at Lacey Township High School. Player of the Year in Princeton All-American, and Player of the Year in the Ivy League. Keith, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Ken.
Keith, you saw the first half. What do you think about your old ball club today? They got a tough defense, and they're clinging to a 7-0 lead.
I think toughness is a key word there. I think that's something that Lacey hangs its hat on. We don't usually come up with guys with a lot of talent, but we have tough football players. We always field good defensive squads, and I think that's what you're seeing today.
Keith's going to do some color analyzing duties with Tony second half. The wind blows the ball off the tee, and Tommy Loudon's got to tee it up again. And Keith, when you played here, you had to play around the Thanksgiving Day games too, and I remember, I think the only losing game you ever played in as a varsity performer was against Central Regional, right?
My junior year, one game I'll never forget.
Here's the kickoff, end over end, nice kick into the wind, and Lacey Stoop on the return, and he's running hard, and he gets up to the 37-yard line. Go ahead, Keith.
That's toughness. That's what I was talking about. He wasn't looking for any speed, any daylight. Put the head down and take them all on.
might point out Keith's only losing game. He scored 2 touchdowns, I believe, in the first half, and then you had that rib injury, and you didn't play the second half against Central.
Yeah, it was a game after we had already won the state championship. We played Woodrow Wilson here, a game you guys covered. We won the winning field goal, last second call, Taratona, so I was banged up going into the Central game.
All right, here's Lacey, first down. Renato hands off to Gary Sasala across the 40-yard line to the 42. It'll be a gain of about 4.
One of the pluses you see right now for Lacey is number 22, Casey Mahoney's back in the backfield. He was the lead blocker on that play, and it puts Gary Sasala back at his feature position, the tailback position, where he'll run the ball much more.
And he did an excellent job also. He threw a hell of a block.
Pestrocello to the near side, Dunn to the far side for the Lions. Second down and 6. Sasala. And right into Peter Versa. And nowhere to go. They close it down. Keith, this rivalry is still a big one. I guess when you guys played, I guess you talk about the Central game all year, do you?
Absolutely. I mean, no matter what the records are, when you come into this game, you throw them out. And in a year, when both the records are great and you have to play them 2 weeks in a row, when I heard we were playing Central 2 weeks in a row, I was so jealous because the rivalry is that intense.
Third down and about 6. Renato looks to throw. He does. Complete. I believe it's Mahoney, yes. And a gain of maybe 2 yards, going to be short of a first down.
That's good coverage by number 34, Walter Dudley on that. And Central, once again, after that opening drive by Lacey, it pretty much shut down Lacey's offense, and it settled down into a struggle for both teams defensively. I think that what's amazing is we're into our 7th quarter, and Central hasn't been able to score on the Lacey defense.
It was a low snap, but Dunn handled it, and he got the punt off. Here's a nice return by Central across the 30 to the 33-yard line. Ed Maturo on the return.
And who made the tackle, Keith? Number 24, Gary Sasala. Keith was talking about the toughness of Lacey, and there you have a running back, the all-county running back, 2 years in a row, and he's downfield making tackles on the punt cover team.
I think that play is something that Lacey has to worry about, because as much as the defense is stopping Central's offense, when you're only winning by 7 points, anything can happen in the game, and special teams is a big factor.
All right, Pozo brings the Golden Eagles out on offense, trailing 7-0 here in the third quarter. Quick pass, drop.
That's about the third pass of the game we've seen drop.
Yes, and that's been one of the problems that the Central coaches mentioned, that one of the things that has hurt the stats of Jason Pozo is a lot of his receivers sometimes have tended to drop the ball. Now, Ed Maturo, which we saw on the run back of the punt, who does a nice job, is one of the receivers who was hurt early in the year, and he's back, so he's a plus.
That was Fogarty, the youngster, who dropped the ball. Second down and 10. Here's Brian McCall and Lacey Township all over the ball carrier. Loss of about a yard. Keith, that's